If you've ever delivered a track to a client, only to realize the next day that you left the click in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hi, I'm Ryan Thomas. I'm a composer for film and television, and this video is the official product walkthrough for the new 8Dio Hybrid Tools Neo Volume 2. This library is a collection of deep-sampled analog synthesizers, percussion, sound design effects, and other organic scoring elements that are essential to modern hybrid soundtrack creation. And that is kind of the way that the industry has been trending for a number of years. So we're just going to start by reviewing the interface very briefly so that you can get familiar with the controls, and then we're just going to dive into all the patches and beautiful sounds that this library has to offer. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is our interface, and one of the best things about it is that there's really not much to talk about here. All the controls are just right in front of your face, and everything's very clearly labeled. One thing I should point out is that if a knob is grayed out, that just means that it doesn't apply to that particular patch or instrument. Also, the stretch, chaos, and stack buttons are features that you're not going to find on most standard synthesizer interfaces. But I will show you what they do a little bit later on in the video. I believe in the whole show, don't tell approach because telling is very boring. So that said, let's actually just go ahead and dive into these patches, and we're going to start with the main patch here and then just work our way down. And we will just start here with the analog drums. So you've just got these really nice, clean samples with all the analog goodness of real hardware synthesizers, and you're just not going to get quite that same level of funk from a digital synthesizer. Let's check out the hybrid percussion. Now, this is actual percussion samples that have been recorded and then layered with synthetic elements. You've got this really nice, clean, punchy sound, very modern sounding, and these really don't struggle to get through a mix at all. Again, just super punchy, nice and crunchy too. Let's check out the hybrid rhythms, and this is going to be a loops patch. And the cool thing about these is that you can really layer them on pretty thick, and it doesn't get too cluttered. I mean, I can really just mash on all these keys and it actually still sounds pretty good. So super, super cool patch there. You know, you can use that to either kind of get inspired to start a piece, or if you've got a piece and it's just lacking something, throw a couple of those loops over top of it and kind of see what it does. Okay, now this is actually one of my favorite patches in the library, the gritty rhythms. It's just such a killer patch, and you really wouldn't need much more than that to have a really effective like a action or suspense cue. Now let's check out these epic bass drums. Now these are just going to be those really big, classic, deep, verby trailer hits. That could also sound kind of cool with maybe a delay or something like that. And of course, they can just also be used, you know, like those classic big verby trailer hits. And this is another patch where you can layer them and they don't sound too dense. Okay, let's check out these ticks and tocks. Super clean, super in your face, really ideal for creating tension in a piece. And let's give a listen to the Tock rhythms. This is another loops patch. And just to show you what these can sound like in context, I'm going to enable the stack feature here, which it's pretty simple. All it does is allow you to play multiple instruments within the same patch at the same time. So I'm going to select the hybrid rhythms and the gritty rhythms, and then I'm just going to play single notes here. And you can really hear how these loops are kind of locking in with each other. I think there are a lot of aspects of this library that are very, to use an old term, very synergistic. There's just a lot of complementary parts of the library that just work well with each other. Now, before we leave the main patch, I do want to show you what the stretch feature does. Okay, so what the stretch feature is going to do is take the last sample that you played, which in this case I was playing a sample in the hybrid percussion patch. So this is the original sample. And then it's going to tune it across 4 different octaves. So this is going to be that exact same sample, but at the lowest tuning and the highest tuning. And I just thought that this sample in particular sounded really cool in the lower range. It's just got this really cool, low, crunchy sound, really clean and punchy. And you know, I could hear that with like a low chanting men's choir and like some really dark sustained brass as the orc horde is approaching or something like that. I'm a total nerd. Okay, so now let's check out the ear candy patch. And this is one of my favorite patches in the library. It is absolutely beautiful. And I'm not going to be able to show you all the sounds in this patch, but hopefully by the time we're done reviewing it, you should have a pretty good idea of what it's about. So I'm just going to play straight through and not talk too much. Let's go ahead and check it out. Lots of really cool sound design stuff in that one. I love that sound. It just totally works all by itself. That's awesome. I actually want to hear what that one sounds like with the gate applied. So as you can hear, there's a pretty good variety of content here. You've got some percussive elements that could go really well with low strings or percussion, and you've got some synth elements, and you've got some standalone stuff, and then you've got other samples that layer really well with other samples just in the same patch. So just a ton of fun stuff in this one. Let's move on to the ambiances. So this patch is kind of like the ear candy patch in a way, but the content is a little bit more focused on those textural evolving ambient pads. And I think they go really well over maybe a looped section of a piece that otherwise might start to get a little bit boring, because these evolve in a really organic and interesting way, and they can really keep the listener engaged just by holding down a single key. So let's go ahead and just play through these. Again, I'm gonna try not to talk too much. And most of those stand on their own pretty well. I'm going to show you in Volume 3 a couple that I think work really well together. Like just that right there could make a really compelling soundtrack for maybe the beginning of a sci-fi battle scene in space or something like that. All right, let's check out Volume 4. And as you can hear, a lot of those are kind of megahorn adjacent, but obviously these are some pretty fresh takes on that general sound and vibe. So let's check out the infinite ambiances, and these are really cool because for most of these you can just hold down the key and maybe layer in some low percussion elements, and you've got a really tense, really compelling soundtrack. And again, with those infinite ambiances, they just keep going until you release the key. So really cool stuff, really fun stuff in that one. Okay, now let's check out the noises. And I think these would be really useful if you need to add some grit or some grunge to a track. And they also sound really cool with the gate as well as the filter engaged. So I'm going to show you the noises by themselves, and then I'm going to show you the noises with the gate and the filter applied. Okay, now let's check these out with the gate and the filter. That could go really well with a percussion loop to add some grit and some texture to that loop. All right, let's check out the second volume here. And again, I'm going to disengage the gate and just let you hear the noises as they are. And now with the gate and the filter applied. All right, let's check out the gritty analog synths. And this is one of my favorite patches in the library, and you're about to hear why. I think it works really well with the stack feature engaged. And, it's just really fun to be able to layer on synth after synth after synth until you get a sound that you really like. So let's check these out. I also think it sounds really gnarly with the gate. Super brutal, absolutely love it. Now, I also want to show you what the chaos button does. And I think that it works particularly well with this patch and can be really inspiring because it is going to just select random samples and stack them if you have the stack mode engaged. I just think that's a really cool creative tool to have available to you. Because, if you don't exactly know what you want, you can just start hitting the chaos button until you find something that you like. So let's go ahead and move on to the piano stabs. This is a really cool patch. Now, these can either be played like a regular piano, more or less, or you can use them like those really dramatic piano stabs that you hear in hybrid trailer work. So I'm just going to play some of the samples for you and let you hear what they sound like. So again, these are just super dramatic. They have such a big sound, and it was just so beautifully recorded and processed. And it's just so many hours of work that's already done for you, because to get sounds like these, you really have to put in a lot of work. So let's go ahead and move on to the last of the main patches, which is the tonal 808s. And of course, you've heard 808s before, but these give you some really fresh takes on the 808. And it's a very popular technique in EDM and other related genres to layer these with other bass and percussion elements. And that technique has started to carry over into hybrid soundtracks. So let's go ahead and just listen to some of these. Now there's a ton of fun stuff that you can do with this patch. I'm actually about to show you one of them that is from the list of presets that comes with Neo 2. And all the presets are essentially the main patches that have been played with and manipulated just using the controls within Neo 2, kind of to the extent that they're almost a different instrument. And I just want to take you through a selection of presets that I thought represented the library really well. So let's start with this one here. And this is actually, again, derived from the Tonal 808s patch. And this is the same patch, but without the sequencer applied. I really love that one. It's very nostalgic. Okay, and the Behemoth Days actually comes from the Ear Candy patch. And this one is just super intense with some like driving percussion and maybe just a couple other elements. I think you've got a really cool soundtrack for, I don't know, some sort of sci-fi battle scene or something like that. And the Broken Skies patch is going to come out of the Infinite Ambiences. I could hear this one being really useful in like a hybrid trailer type context, especially if you had some really big percussion hits at the beginning of each of those falls. Okay, now the Chiral is this really beautiful, inspiring, driving polysynth. Just such a huge fat sound. And finally, the Serene Pad is another driving, more ambient synth. Okay, well that is going to do it for this walkthrough. Hopefully by now you've gotten a pretty good idea of how the library works, and I hope that I've done a good job of showing you kind of what the heart and the soul of the library really is. And it's really funny, I texted trolls when I was exploring all these patches in preparation for this video that I was kind of frustrated that I didn't have this library just a few months earlier, because I was working on this really cool TV show that needed a hybrid soundtrack. And I spent countless hours making sounds that were actually a lot like these. Of course, mine didn't sound quite as good, but this could have saved me just so much time and so much effort. It's a really cool library, a really awesome tool to have in your toolkit. And definitely stay tuned, because there is so much content that is just waiting to be released. Quite a few really, really fun things that are going on behind the scenes here at 8DO. So I want to thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.